I want to share with you today that there is hope after divorce. My name is Talian and thank you for clicking on this video. If you clicked on this video, I presume that you are going through a divorce and that you find yourself where I've been. And that is why I want to share my story, to give you hope. I got divorced 8 years ago. I was 38 years old after a marriage of 15 years and I had 2 children. And I want to tell you how God guided me through those dark times, how He healed me, changed me, and how He gave me hope for the future. Let me give you some background. I was raised in a Christian home. I gave my life to Jesus when I was only 4 years old. My parents went into full-time ministry when I was 11, so Jesus was always a huge part of my life. My foundation. I got married very young, and like all marriages, our marriage had a lot of challenges. Financial pressure was a primary source of conflict in our relationship, and on top of that, I also suffered 4 miscarriages within 2 years in trying for our second child. The trauma of the miscarriages was extremely difficult to deal with and to accept. And I started to question God, something I never did. I started to ask, why would God, the God I dedicated my entire life to, why would He allow me to go through 4 miscarriages? Why is He not changing my financial situation? So these type of questions started to shake the foundation of what I believed in. So when you go through trauma, you can either turn to God, submit yourself to His hand, trust that He will sustain and heal you and strengthen you in those dark times, or you can blame Him. You can blame God for all the bad things that's happening to you, and you can turn away from Him. You can try to fix yourself or deal with it, but this approach never works. It usually just causes more trauma and more pain, like more broken relationships and addictions. I blamed God for my miscarriages, as well as our financial situation, because I knew He could change it and He chose not to. So I was angry, rebellious towards God, and I started to blame my husband. I told him he's not a good husband, he's not a good provider, he's not stepping up. And this brought division in our marriage, and it also brought a disconnection. So this rebellion, resentment and bitterness really grew inside my heart like a cancer, and it really changed me. It made me feel dead inside, numb. I couldn't even feel love for my husband at that stage. And it escalated to a point which I will call my breaking point, where God just allowed me to go into total brokenness. I was crushed under the weight of my own sin. That description is so powerful because that's exactly what happened. I had an affair. The affair was the reason for our divorce, and it devastated my then husband as well as my 2 children. They were 11 and 3 at that stage. So when the affair surfaced, and which was also the primary reason for our divorce, so when the affair surfaced, it was as if God lifted a veil from my eyes, and I could see what I've become, how low I sank, how resentment, unforgiveness, and bitterness has darkened my soul. The devastating consequences of my sin was tremendously tough to cope with, to stare it in the face and know that this is my consequences of what I've done. The people I've hurt, people I cared about were suffering. It was tremendously difficult to be faced with that. I can still recall the turmoil of that time, the shame of what I've done, the blame for all the people I've hurt so deeply, when I saw my children and I saw how they were suffering. The guilt was almost suffocating. I also struggled with my role as a single mother, but I had no mercy on myself. I just kept on telling myself, this is because of your decisions. So this is your consequence of your sin. So you should deal with it. You should suck it up. It was also really difficult for me to be a good mother to my children in that time, and I was aware of their struggles, and it was difficult for me to be there for them because I was still broken myself and dealing with my own emotions. So now you might ask me, where does hope come into my story? Well, Jesus is always our hope. So my journey of healing and change started when I went back to the Father. And he did exactly as his word promises in 1 John 1 verse 9. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. And this is what he did. He started to change me inside out. He started to heal me, to rebuild me. And this gave me hope. I also want to read to you Isaiah 61 verse 3. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. This so beautifully describes what God specializes in. God specializes in restoration, making beauty from ashes. We are never too far gone or too broken or out of reach for God's restoring grace and forgiveness. Self-examination is also an extremely important part of healing after divorce. You have to ask yourself, what can I change? And that was exactly what I did. I told God, I don't want to be the same person. Show me how I failed. Show me in which aspects I was not the wife you intended me to be, because I don't want to make the same mistakes again if you ever allow me to be a wife again. And that was what he did. He shone his light on me, and his light restores us. It also exposes what we keep hidden deep inside, and when he brings it to light, he can set us free. And he started to, it felt like a preparation process. He started to prepare me. He started to change me. He started to renew and rebuild me. And this gave me hope that I might get another chance to be a wife again. I also want to read to you Luke 15, the parable of the lost son, after he ended up with the pigs and he had nothing left but to go back to his father. I will read from verse 20. So he got up and went to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. Isn't this amazing? This is exactly what God did. I was happy with just being forgiven. If God can just forgive me for the pain I've caused, for what I've done, even if that means that I will never be a wife again, I was okay with that. But God did so much more. He gave me a second chance. I've been remarried now for 4.5 years to a wonderful husband, one who understands God's forgiveness and grace, one who doesn't remind me of my past, where I've been or what I've done, because He knows God changed me. And I thank God constantly for the privilege of being a wife again, because of Jesus, His blood on the cross washed me clean of all my sins. Now when God looks at me, He doesn't see what I've done, but He sees the price that Jesus paid for my sin. And in God's eyes, I am a new creation, and I am worthy of all His blessing. So if this message gave you hope, please like or share with someone who is going through the same struggle.